Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Township of North Frontenac's regular council meeting for Thursday, August the 28th. Please be advised, North Frontenac council meetings are recorded. By attending a public meeting of council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Members of council, staff, delegates, and attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behavior or comments. We begin this gathering by acknowledging and celebrating these traditional lands as a gathering place of the first peoples and their ancestors who were entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. We do so respecting both the land and the indigenous people who continue to walk with us through this world. Today, the Township of North Frontenac is committed to working with indigenous peoples and all residents to pursue a united path with reconciliation. So the first item is the approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councilor Hudol, second by Councilor Fowler. Be it resolved that council approves the agenda dated August 28, 2025 as listed.
Comments? Councilor Regent, Councilor Hermer, any comments? Seeing none, in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, hearing none. Business profile, Frontenac Stump and Yard Service.
Moved by Councilor Fowler, second by Councilor Hudol. Be it resolved that council receives for information the business profile of Frontenac Stump and Yard Service provided by the Economic Development.
Comments? In favor? Carried. Okay, so we have a presentation from Richard Allen, the Manager of Economic Development, Municipal on development, Manager of Economic Development on the Municipal Accommodation Tax, a feasibility of that. Richard, the floor is yours.
Ooh. It's got more sensitive since I've last been here. All right, thank you, Council, for having me here today to present to you. I have a couple presentations for you on some economic development initiatives. I'm going to push it further away. The first of which is the feasibility of a municipal accommodation tax across Frontenac County. We're looking at this as an opportunity to grow tourism opportunities throughout the county. It's a project that we really are undertaking as an investigation at this point. Next slide, please. Or I can move my slides. Yeah, great. So if you're not familiar with the MAT, it's an opportunity for municipalities to raise funds for tourism initiatives. It's usually a small levy added to the cost of stays at hotels, motels, B&Bs, resorts, or short-term rentals. The accommodation providers collect the fee and remit that to the municipalities. This is enabled under Ontario Regulation 435/17, and 50% of the revenues raised have to be directed to an entity where their mandate is tourism and tourism marketing. The other 50% of the revenues can remain with the municipality that collected them. The funds are reinvested to grow the local visitor economy, and about 80 Ontario municipalities are participating in a MAT program. So in Frontenac County, tourism continues to grow, and MAT would be a tool that we could use to harness that momentum and support investment in our visitor economy. It's a non-property tax revenue source. What that means is essentially the visitors would be paying for reinvestment into visitation. We wouldn't be taking property taxes to support tourism initiatives such as events or trade shows geared to attracting more visitors to the region, or marketing efforts, again, focused on supporting our tourism operators and accommodation providers. Most of our neighboring municipalities already use this tool. Kingston and Prince Edward County are two examples, but we have investigations taking place north of us in the Ottawa Valley and across Ontario. Countywide, using 2021 data from short-term rentals, we can see total revenues of around $525,000. That is exclusive of rentals, potential revenues from cottages, B&Bs, hotels. We haven't fully investigated that inventory to provide that at this stage of the project. As I said, the municipalities would be collecting the funds, so that would be the townships that would collect the funds. So 50% of the funds collected would remain with the township, and the other 50% would go to a tourism entity to do the marketing going forward. There we go. So the guiding framework, where does the money go? We would be directing the revenues from the tourism from the MAT into a destination development plan implementation. So we have a plan that we developed in 2022 with representatives of the community on the steering committee. We had lake associations, we had STR owners, we had accommodation owners, we had membership from representatives from each of the townships. And we pulled together a destination plan that really reflected the priorities of our community in terms of developing sustainable tourism. We weren't looking at increasing and being overrun with tourism. We wanted to grow and augment and increase revenues from the tourism we already had. The plan had three main tiers in terms of focusing on natural assets, outdoor recreation and trails, focusing on growing food and beverage opportunities in the region, and growing the arts and culture that we already have in the region, but we don't promote. Some of the additional uses of revenues could be for signage, building out and improving our waterfront amenities, looking at marketing campaigns, focusing on growing culinary experiences, adding amenities that support tourism. So if there's a desire for a washroom at a public beach or something, we could look at using funds towards that. It also could support research and data collection that would help us understand our visitors. So we could use these funds to better understand who's coming here, what they want to do here, and make sure that we're able to provide it when we do that. Finally, events are a big part of our economy here. And so providing support or sponsorship for events through the MAT funds would make sure that we're not directing funds that aren't available in our municipalities there. One of the challenges that we have in our municipalities is that we all agree that tourism is really important to economic development. But when we look at the budget, we have a lot of other pressing concerns that we have to manage and take care of. And so we would really benefit from an additional revenue source to support that priority for us that's dedicated to that priority. Events that happen here in North Frontenac that might benefit from a MAT or funding from a MAT are the dark sky events at the dark sky viewing area, summer and winter festivals that are taking place, other events that are potentially put on by partners, not conducted by the municipality. And it might allow for funding other types of projects that support tourism that wouldn't rely on property tax dollars to get us there. One of the benefits of having a MAT is it has visitors paying for their things that support tourism, and that would be what we're looking to investigate with this project. Well, sorry. Just so for a sense of the context across Ontario, these are some of the municipalities that have a MAT in place and what the percentage they charge the visitor on their overnight stays. So you can see this is already quite common. In fact, visitors are quite used to paying a MAT. When we go to larger cities such as Toronto or Ottawa, it's always there. It's commonplace in the United States as well. That's how most tourism funds funding comes from in the US. So at this stage, we're engaging the community. At this stage, we're engaging staff and municipalities. We're looking to understand what the opportunities are for tourism through AMAT by having conversations with the community and with our partners. And so we're looking to launch a web page on Engage Frontenac in September that would have information about the project. We would share the opportunities and research that we have on that page. We would also have a survey available for businesses, short-term rental hosts, residents, other people of interest to complete. And then we'll be conducting at the end of October in-person open houses in each of the townships. And in November, we'll be hosting an online session for short-term rental hosts. So that as we understand that some short-term rental hosts don't necessarily live here or they have other jobs during the day. And so that will be a virtual session that they can attend in the evening, and we'll record it and post it on our page as we go forward. So the project timeline, and again, this we haven't made any decisions about whether we should go ahead. We have to lay out a business plan and understand what the costs are, what the structure is for a municipality to implement and manage AMAT, and then and what types of structures might work in terms of the business plan implementation of that. So that will all come out as part of the options review that we share. We have contacts with all of the staff team at all of the townships that are reviewing and participating in the conversation here. And then we'll be moving forward with a report to County Council that would say, we think there's an opportunity here, or we don't think there's an opportunity here. And this is the next steps we think we should be taking. At the end of the day, MAT is implemented in each township, and we would have to come back to this council or any other council for approval to move forward with the MAT in some shape or form, if that was the recommendation. So this wouldn't be the last time I'm here to talk to you about MAT, for sure. So as a summary, it's a tool that we think could support tourism and economic development goals and priorities at the township and county level. We think that we want to make sure that we hear from the township and its residents, as well as across the county, the business community, our short-term rental hosts. We want to understand what the opportunities are for growing tourism through AMAT, and looking at and understanding the challenges to implementing it before we make any recommendations to County Council. If you have any questions now, I'd be happy to take them.
Question, Council, dollars, please. Thanks, Richard, for your presentation. Who collects the money and distributes it? That's something that has to be set up.
So those, we have lots of decisions to do that, but generally the bylaw to implement the MAT happens at the township level. And the collection could happen through the township infrastructure, or it could happen through a party that the township names to provide the collection. So the distribution of the funds, again, it's 50% goes to the township. They could decide to distribute, and 50% is mandated to go to a tourism entity. What that tourism entity is, we haven't determined yet. It could be a municipal services corporation that's created for that purpose of directing tourism, or it could be another not-for-profit or organization that has a mandate for tourism. So those are pieces that we're investigating as part of the project.
Thank you, Richard, for the presentation. So when I go to Ottawa or Toronto and I look at my bill, I hate that 6% tax. But as a councillor, I can see another revenue stream. But you mentioned that 50% goes to the county, 50% stays at the municipality level. Why wouldn't North Frontenac just do this on their own?
Yeah, so a couple of questions. So it doesn't necessarily mean 50% is going to the county. we haven't determined what that tourism entity is. In fact, the county itself could not receive it. The Municipal Services Corporation that serves the county potentially could, or a not-for-profit. Yeah, you could decide to go elsewhere. But my initial analysis is I don't think there's enough accommodations in any single township for it to be worth the overhead or like the revenues would not be enough to do individually to make it worth the time to add the additional cost of monitoring and pursuing any errant files. So if we're able to find an economy of scale across the county, I think that's where the opportunity lies.
Councilor Crowe, did you have your hand up? Brian, go ahead.
Yes, I was just wondering if the county's going to administer this 50%, will that create a different position on the county level?
So, we wouldn't be. So again, we haven't made any decisions in terms of like what the uses are, but what the investigation would be to determine if there's a business plan possible to administer where there's a benefit to the township and there's a benefit to tourism across the county. Would there have to be a position or a person somewhere to provide oversight of the files and the follow-up in terms of things? Potentially. Certainly resources would be required to monitor the MAT. Now there are services out there that provide a simple tool that provides you with a file that you follow up on yourself, or a more expensive set of services where they note where there's issues or like where, let's say somebody's submitted their MAT, but the funds for the year, but they haven't submitted the full amount that they were out. Those services can follow up too externally. So there's a number of different pieces that can be done. But again, this is the beginning of the project, and so we haven't looked at all of the pieces and where they're going to go yet. There's just options and opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Richard. When I was in Toronto, I stayed up there and I went online and looked at it, and we do not, as a person renting that, have to pay this tax. Am I correct on that? And because I didn't pay it, I told them that I wasn't going to pay it. I didn't.
No, that's a new one for me. I will follow up on that.
Well done. Yep.
I'm actually not in favor of doing this yet. I think if we try to bring this in now, we've got a large number of Airbnb type accommodations. You don't regulate it anyway. We have no way of collecting this from them. We are in the process of looking at short-term rental bylaw in the future, perhaps, where they bring in regulations of some sort. I think this should come after we get that. But right now, we try to implement this, we unfairly hitting visible tourist funding. Funding is what happened.
Thank you.
So Richard, you're saying all the right things, and it sounds great, and it's so many questions. I'm not going to ask them all here. How do we enforce it? This to me stuff like, let's say we have a lodge and it's 80% full, and that this adds up to $15,000. How do we know like in 30, 40 to 60? Sounds like we need to have some kind of report. And like page for that. We just look at this questions I brought. I know you won't be answering them all. Frontenac Islands already have a tourism tax or an accommodation tax, I understand. No, I'm not Frontenac Island, you still already have a tax.
And so the islands are not part of the municipality of Kingston, so they do not have an accommodation tax on the islands.
You know. So we're going to ask if they get, or they're going to share the tax, right? That would be interesting. discussion.
Yeah.
Who enforces it? How do we enforce it? It sounds good, but there's a lot of downsides to us. We need a staff. How do you make it staff? Who's the tourism entity that's going to look after all this? So let's say we took in $30,000. 15 goes to the county, 15 stays here. We want to put it against Summerfest and make it to the class act better than it is now. But by the sound of it, we still have to go through the tourism establishment, the tourism and the.
Yeah, so these are things that as part of this feasibility, we're looking at, and we'll bring forward. And some of the questions we'll have in a frequently asked questions on the site, because there are lots of these very detailed questions, but especially from an implementation standpoint, our website will be primarily geared towards public and businesses who are interested in understanding what we're talking about here. In terms of how we would enforce it or follow up, we're going to look at a few different options and probably make sure that we cover those options when we present this to County Council and bring it back to all of our partners. There are, as we said, there's 80 municipalities who are doing this across Ontario. And so there are examples in different strategies in place, and we just have to look at all of those strategies and start to determine what ones are the right fit for us. And as I said, I think it comes down to economies of scale. Like how do we structure it so that no one municipality has to shoulder an unnecessary amount of burden or burden that they can't assume.
Issue is how we compensate publicly. They're going to end up with that cost reflected, calculated, and admitted. How do they come and or they
So generally, in the places that have implemented and that they have either seen tourism go up or remain the same, and they haven't had. There's been little to no evidence of having to drop prices to absorb the cost.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the beginning of the stages.
That's right.
For municipalities are very limited in how we generate funds. This is just kind of a revenue generation. So I'm interested in see where this goes. I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but just interested in seeing where it goes.
Thank you. And I want to say that we haven't made any decisions yet. We really are investigating the feasibility here. We don't, me being in this spot, I'm kind of could sound defensive of it in terms of where we're going, but really we want to see if this is an opportunity worth pursuing. And it could be, as Councillor Inglis mentioned, as something that's worth pursuing, but not now. It could be something that's worth pursuing right now, or it could be something that really doesn't fit for Frontenac. And we're open to all of that, but if we don't have the conversation, we could be leaving money on the table, or that it could be invested in our economy.
Yes, have you been approaching these other municipalities and how they implement that program?
That's correct. We've been speaking with representatives of other municipalities and continue to do so.
So Richard, we had talked previously a little bit about this review meeting. We talked about that, and we were talking about becoming a bit of a committee or something to look into these. So I'm just trying. I think we should have that discussion with them. If that's kind of, I don't think we've put that in the resolution, but we've kind of working with our staff and saying things with this, investigating.
Yeah, so we'd like to have representatives from the staff team in each of the municipalities for us to bring some of the findings forward to during the process of the exercise, so we can get immediate input, and go back to working through, like when we're developing options, we're not going to want to bring forward 10 options. We're going to want to have it 1, 2, 3 options. And so getting advice and direction from our partners at the municipalities is really going to be critical to doing that. We're speaking with representatives from Treasury, clerks, enforcement, in terms of trying to be coordinated on this. And so some participation from staff to receive information from me on a bi-weekly basis and potentially participate in 1 or 2 meetings would be ideal.
Moved by Councilor Hiddle, second by Councilor Fowler. Be resolved that council receives for information the presentation by Richard Allen, Manager of Economic Development of the County of Frontenac, regarding municipal accommodation tax feasibility in Frontenac County and Hampton First Homestead Bay.
Carried. Richard, you have a second presentation, this one on the rehab road base for the Canopy Trail.
Yes, thank you. I'm still here. I will leave soon. I'm here to speak to you about the potential of rehabilitating essentially the last leg of the KMP Trail and most of the KMP Trail in North Frontenac as part of this. We have yet another opportunity to apply to the province for funding, and it's a similar funding opportunity that we've used in the past to develop the trail, all of the trail between Charbot Lake and the Mississippi River so far. So previously, this grant program was called the RED program, the Rural Economic Development Program. It is now the Rural Ontario Development Program, and applications are due at the end of September. But similar criteria is required in terms of making that application towards the project. So just as a brief background, this has been a strategic economic development project for over 15 years at the county, developing a vision of a trail that connects our communities from South Frontenac through to North Frontenac, and we even have a vision to try to connect on the islands as well once we're finished here on the mainland. And land acquisition, as you know, has been taking place in North Frontenac, and we are now substantially complete with that process, and we're able to pursue an infrastructure project for 2026. Just to talk about our most recent project, this is what the trail work we did in 2024 looks like. So on the left is basically the same spot as the photo on the right, just south of Robertsville on the trail. So you can see we've upgraded it from a coarse material to a compact stone dust material for travel. The previous state of the trail was not ideal for cyclists, and even ATVers would avoid this section if they could as part of their trip. And now we get compliments on what happens here in North Frontenac all the time. Whoops, did I end my show? I'm so sorry. I pressed the wrong button. Thank you. It was just a blank button. Okay. So this is also near Robertsville, and so where you can see that it's a very similar spot here, and the trail upgrades here. This is a beautiful spot, just like the Robertsville Bridge. Love traveling along this part of the trail. In Mississippi Station, we replaced 2 very aged culverts with a new culvert and turned that into a very beautiful spot. You can see it's an incredible sort of place that's visible from the road and shows off the trail to everybody as it travels through North Frontenac here. We had some bridges that came as part of that acquisition, and the work wasn't included in that grant program. But our partners at the Frontenac ATV Club have been steadily resurfacing. They were supposed to be up here resurfacing the third of the 3 bridges today, but the rain put them off, and so they'll be out in the next week or 2 to put a new deck on all of those bridges. We did that with the RED grant, the Rural Economic Development Program grant. It was 8 kilometers. That total project had a budget of $700,000, which resulted in $200,000 of RED funds. We had almost $16,000 from the community and ATV Club. Committed $5,000 towards that project, So we had a number of partners that made that happen. To this point, we know that we've seen almost 5,000 trips to and from Snow Road Station on that section of trail this year. And you can see the mayor, who is also the warden of the county, cutting the ribbon with the parliamentary assistant for OMRA, still calling it OMAFRA in my head, and our MP, John Jordan. So looking ahead, we have the next stage of the trail that we'd like to develop. And this would be basically everything north of 509 in 2 sections that would connect the Mississippi River to the edge of the county. This is about 6.8 kilometers that we would be rehabilitating. That would be clearing and prepping the lands, making drainage improvements, placing aggregates, grading and compacting to the finish that we showed you in those previous slides, and installing signage and wayfinding as part of it. This photo here shows what part, this is up near Wilbur, what part of the trail looks like. It's got, it's infamous, basically, anyone who's been up there, but it does put off trail users of all kinds, including those on the ATVs. They're not sure what's on there. They don't want to get wet. The type of trail users that we find on the KMP trail are not necessarily those ATV users who are looking for mud. If you're coming to KMP, you're looking more for a leisure ride. And so this would finally get filled in. Even now, after 6 weeks of sun and no rain, there's still lots of water up there in that section. And so that would be remedied as part of this project. So we anticipate this project to be a little less than the last one, $500,000 project. We would get $150,000 through the RDP grant. And we're looking at, we would balance that with our contribution. As described before, partnership is critical to making these grants happen. And we're looking to see a partnership from the township on this project. $10,000 would really help us look like you're committed partners and support the development of this trail in your municipality. Before I finish, I just want to mention that this section of the trail, even though it is not part of the Trans-Canada Trail, it is part of loops that have been created by multiple different types of trail users. So that's the Eastern Ontario Rail Trail Loop, which is a cycling loop, the Rails and Trails Ontario East Loop, which is a snowmobile loop, the Quad Counties OFATV Loop, which is a brand new ATV loop. They all use this section of trail, and we're starting to see more and more people interested in making those trips through North Frontenac on all of these, using all of these forms. I get more calls now asking about what is it like to get through North Frontenac, what's the condition of the trail, where can we stop, what's good for lunch, those kinds of things. I didn't used to get those kinds of calls, and they're starting to come in. People are seeing these loops and seeing them as great experiences to increase visitation and attend our businesses in Frontenac. I also think this is aligned with both the county's priorities and the township's priorities when it talks about engaging in four-season recreational opportunities and strengthening the facilities that are here to do so. We want to leverage external funding for our benefit, and right now this is the best funding I can find for trails. I'd prefer trail funding that was more like 75% from the province, but I'll take what I can get at this point. So this is what I'd like to recommend, and I should mention, I didn't talk about this in the presentation, but in that section where there's a bridge missing, and over across Angebon Creek. I'm currently working on a daily basis with the local snowmobile club here, the Snow Road Snowmobile Club, to fund the replacement of that bridge through a grant program offered by the Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs. And we're gonna we think it's possible to have a bridge in place before this year's snowmobile season, and that would put us in place to be able to have the trail ready for redevelopment next year.
Yes, regarding the phase 6B, that's going from Mississippi River north.
Yeah.
Have you been approached or been approaching the landowners that are facing the trail that's been at the wire acquisition? You been speaking to these people?
So right now we're just we're looking to get the funding lined up to move forward. We've been in most of the cases, the landowners that are adjacent to this are we haven't lined up the project. We would line up the project when we got approval of the funding and then start speaking to adjacent landowners.
Just one other quick thing too. I was looking at the picture of the bridge that completed. And it's not one on it, but it was a small deal for the winter time.
So on our newer bridges, if they're purchased brand new, we do look to put in a rubberized surface. Again, we ask the snowmobile clubs to help us with that because they're the ones causing the damage, and so we're looking to do that. We've also managed to, by working with our partners at the ATV Club, the cost of the deck replacement has gone down significantly because we have volunteer labor installing those bridges.
Thank you, Richard, for the presentation. I'm glad you're looking at that water. My wife will be happy when you go through there. But it needs to be done. And I'm a huge supporter of KP Trail, and I think you're doing a great job. My question though is, the last time you came here, you asked for $5,000. I believe this time you're asking for $10,000. Am I mistaken, or is that correct? Anyway, and then why the difference?
Okay, so for the same question, for the same, I guess I thought if I asked for more, I had a better chance of getting negotiated down. No, my thoughts are no. That in all seriousness, the last one felt like it was on the border of North Frontenac, and this one feels really embedded across North Frontenac, and so I thought that was a reasonable ask for a significant project.
Richard, did this take us right to the border with Gunner, or just not the Wilbur Road?
Yeah, we'll be finishing just south of the Wilbur Road with this project. We'll when appropriate, we'll pursue the last 2 or 3 kilometers. They will still likely be in the hands of the MVCA, and the county's not willing to improve lands that aren't county lands.
Yes, is the ATV clubs and the snowmobile clubs putting money forward to this?
Yeah, so at the time of making this presentation, the ATV club hadn't yet approached the ATV club. They are now committed to. I've now spoken to them, so I submitted this presentation last week to your clerk's department. Yesterday I was speaking with the ATV club, and they're going to take it to their board for consideration of putting in $5,000 or $10,000 themselves.
The county has been in the OTA, and the flag here, they really
They're next on the list, so they're for a conversation. But essentially we're expecting to see a number of partners participate in this that benefit from it. We're going to be the snowmobile club is brushing the area, and that's going to save us $5,000 to $10,000 because they'll have access to a brushing equipment that is pretty significant in how it works, and so they can take it right back for construction purposes. Some of the brushing folks out there can't do, they don't have a strong enough equipment to go really deep into the woods.
Can I ask Kelly where this money's gonna come from?
So we indicated that we would take it from the operating contingencies.
There's over $1 million. The reality is, this is going to go ahead eventually, and if we get the grant, we should have gathered everybody participate in it. Needs to like that. Because that's what we speak several times on this, and the element. If we don't do it, or we don't get the grant, then it's going to go ahead and it's going to happen. Not really anyway. But everybody else, what I want to try to say, get the grant. All right, any final comments? In favor of this? Oh, sorry, Chair, that's the resolution.
Moved by Councilor Fowler, second by Councilor Udall, be it resolved that council receives the report, the Inter Development Snow Lake Station to Gilbert and Rural Ontario Development Program Funding Opportunity, and presentation to Richard Allen, Manager, Economic Development Fund. The CAO chair of letter of support to Frontenac County to aid in the application to the Rural Ontario Development Program for the purpose of rehabilitating Frontenac County and Snow Lake Station to Gilbert in the town of Next Line. As the Chesterfield North Frontenac shall provide $10,000 in funds from the operating community reserve as part of the overall grant application and only support of the community level of as I found in the report, and that the CAO shall provide a letter of support on behalf of the township to the county of Frontenac and Snow Lake Club for the emergency replacement of the bridge overhang front.
Voting for this needs to be pretty approved before we do it.
Well, I mean,
Yeah. Normally, a request that goes to the vote. I think the deadline for this grant, I'm sure is supposed to be going on, but. We have to check that out.
okay. Bird, I'm going to ask, we have might be recorded, sorry. I want to do a recorded vote here because we can help it better online. That's the only reason.
Councilor Fowler? Councilor Good?
I really don't like seeing taxpayers' money being spent like this now. There's just suggestion. I said right here that we could lower it $5,000, but I don't like to see taxpayer money going in places like this. So I'm gonna vote against.
Councilor Herman?
I would have to say no, because I'm in favor of user fees.
Councilor Udall?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Engel?
Yes.
Councilor Regent?
yes,
Mayor Lichty?
Yes,
The motion is carried 5-2.
thank you.
Thank you for your partnership.
I think. Pretty safe, right? Your choice. So. Item 6C. Leslie. Environmental Task Force. Welcome back, Paul. I'll see you in a while. Yeah. Been exciting. Yeah, that's good.
So thanks for the opportunity to present on the subject of net metering. This is this presentation is in response to an action from the July, I believe, council meeting to provide more details on the subject. Okay, so the objective of this presentation is to provide an appreciation of financial and energy security benefits. I think people well understand the environmental benefits of such a project, but there are also increasingly strong financial benefits and benefits to energy security. This will be presented in the form of a cash flow model, which will communicate break-even points and return on investment. A break-even analysis is really only a partial view of the value of a project. And I think we've been talking up until this point only as a break-even analysis, which is anywhere from 7 to 10 years and sometimes longer, depending on the overhead costs. But a return on investment actually provides the ability to see how you're getting benefits through the life of the project beyond the break-even point. Okay, so I control, or there we go. So this information comes from the International Renewable Energy Agency. This is a consortium of 169 countries with the EU as well. So just under 200 countries. The graph on the left, you can see the green bar is the amount of new additional energy on grids worldwide over the years, and the red bar is from non-renewable energy. So as per the top bullet, 92.5% of additions in 2024 were renewable. There's a reason for that. Renewable is very quickly becoming a cheaper alternative to adding new energy. And the second bullet says 91% is of new projects in 2024, renewable projects in 2024 beat out the cost of a fossil fuel project. So it's becoming increasingly clear that it's financially viable for these type of projects. Now that 91% I would take with a grain of salt. I don't necessarily completely agree with that. That's when you compare the generation versus generation. So a fossil fuel plant versus, let's say, a solar project. But with a solar project, they're intermittent, whereas a fossil fuel project is not. You have to have storage capabilities as well. And when you add that into the cost of, let's say, a solar project, the cost between traditional projects and renewable projects is approximately equal. On the energy security front, energy prices are constantly rising. They are likely to rise faster in the future than they have in the recent past. There's a lot of press about data centers, AI, and so on, increasing the need to upgrade our grid. And there's major investments that are needed for this. And in fact, the BESS project that was the subject of yesterday is an example of that. Those all have to be paid for in some way, shape, or form. And anticipation is that hydro rates will start to go up more quickly. So I did look back in the last 20 years. So from the mid-2015 timeframe to, the mid-2005 to 2015 timeframe, the average annual increase in price of electricity rates was 7.1%. And in the last 10 years, it was 3.8%. So it is going up substantially year over year. And as I said, I think it will probably go up faster in the future. The second example is New York State, which is privately owned, which tends to adjust to market pressures faster than public. Ontario, we are subsidized. And in New York State this year, went up 15% alone. Okay, so next slide. All right, just a quick recap on net metering, which was discussed in July. It allows a facility to install solar panels that feed electricity back into the grid. That energy that is fed back into the grid is deducted from the energy that we use in terms of, this will provide some form of saving. That differential, it comes off the monthly bill. If the generation is higher than what was used, you get credits. Those credits will expire within 1 year. Next slide. So given the expiration of the credits, it's best to match your annual panel output to what you're using. If you generate too much, it's just wasted capital that you've invested, and it's of no value. The task force, notably Deputy Mayor Inglis, did solicit quotes from two suppliers, Quantum Energy and Eco Alternative Energy, and the model that you'll see here comes from that information. In order to do such a balanced system, we did talk in the July timeframe that it's approximately a $200,000 cost. That's been updated to make sure that we've included all potential overhead, and it's now sitting at $225,000. Next slide. So this is a diagram of the cash flow model that was created. It's actually a spreadsheet using industry standard accounting formulas. On the left, the two red boxes, the top one is all the variables that are used in a solar panel system to determine what your output will be. On the lower left is a loan calculator. Now, this is not implying that we're asking to go out and get a loan. What this is used for is to determine the return on investment. So a typical business return on investment takes the assets that a company has invested in, tracks how those assets are appreciating over time, and that delta is your return on investment. But a township is not in the business of appreciating assets, it's in the business of providing services to residents. So I used a different approach to determine the return on investment, and that is based on the cash flow that you would get over a 25-year period. What is the equivalent interest rate in a loan that exactly matches that cash flow? And that interest rate is your return on investment. Okay. The graphs on the right, you'll see in subsequent slides. The table in the middle is really just the data points that create those graphs. Next slide. All right, so I also added discounted cash flow. So any business that does a cash flow analysis and a return on investment analysis takes into account the time value of money. Money in the future is not worth the same amount of money as the money today, right? So if you buy a car today for $50,000, 10 years from now, it'll cost you $60,000. So if the cash flow goes out 25 years, it's not really appropriate to say that the cash in the 25th year in dollars should be presented in today's dollars. It's actually worth less. So that's taken into account in the model as well. The analogy is actual temperature versus a feel-like temperature. If it's 30 degrees out, well, it may feel like 36 degrees because of humidity. In this case, if the 25th year is a $10,000 cash flow, it may feel like $5,000. It's worth less. Next slide. Okay, so the model has, as I showed in the model picture, has a lot of input variable. And the model will be as good as the data that's used on the input. So there are things like, what is the predicted future electricity rate increase? What is the predicted inflation rate? What panel efficiency loss is being predicted? What are the maintenance costs going forward? And one of the big ones is how many average daylight hours? And that's in the form of how many hours that fully drive the panel, right? So you may have partial daylight hours, but that gets reduced into how many hours per day will the panel run at full capacity. So instead of trying to guess exactly what those numbers are, what we did is we provided a lower and upper limit. So the conservative number uses the most conservative for each of the variables, and the optimistic model shows the most optimistic and hence the most revenue over those same variables. The reality is that we'd experience somewhere between the two, right? So we have the lower limit and the upper limit. Next slide. So here's the variables and here's the numbers that I use. Electricity rate increase, as I said, in the last 10 years has been 3.8%. So the conservative number is 3%, optimistic 8%. It has gone as high as 7.1% over a 10-year period. Inflation rate, the conservative is a higher rate because that impacts maintenance costs. So it's 3% versus 2%. If there's a panel efficiency loss, typically around 0.5% on the optimistic side. It's panels are typically warranted for 1%, so that's conservative. Annual maintenance cost 2%, 1%. Average delayed hours. According to NASA satellites for our area, there are the equivalent of 3.3 full daylight hours per day over 12 months. People in the neighborhood have found that we can get as much as 3.8. That's the confidence. What's called the electricity export rate is what percentage of your bill or the township bill is related to consumption and what is related to things like delivery charges and fixed charges. Those charges never get rebated. The only thing that gets rebated in the credits is the use. So you can't use the full cost of electricity when you're determining the save. We typically in our bill see 24 cents kilowatt hour. I brought that down to 18 cents kilowatt hour, which one of the suppliers agrees publicly around the right cost. The rest is fixed cost, which is not related to consumption, and that does not get credited. Next slide. So this is the conservative model. Starts off about $12,000 a year in savings for the project. The graph on the left is the annual savings. The graph on the right is the accumulated savings. So it starts off at minus 225,000 and works its way up. The blue line on the right is the actual dollars. The red line is the feel-like number, the discount rate. So in the 25th year, you might have $150,000 in the bank from proceeds or savings from the project, but it will feel like they have about half. So over the life of the project, the $370,000 in savings equates to about a 4.3. Next slide. This one is substantially better because it is assuming that the cost of electricity goes up 8% a year for 25 years. Do I think that's going to happen? No, but it is the upper limit. So this starts off at about $20,000 per year in savings, goes up to over $100,000 a year in savings. The break-even point is much earlier. You can see on the graph on the right, it's around 8 years in, and it generates a balance of savings of over $1 million by the 25th year. But again, the feel-like number will be slightly over half that based on inflation. Next slide. Okay, so conclusions. Investing in a net metering system does yield significant return on investment over and above beyond the break-even point. The more an electricity rate, your electricity rates go up year over year, the higher the return on investment without any additional investment. In that way, it provides the township with electricity price security. If for some reason there's a big hike in electricity prices at some point in the next 25 years, you feel that. It will be covered under the capital that we've invested in this project. A downside from this is that, and it was raised in the best meetings yesterday, there's an interconnect analysis that's required for large powered systems. It amounts to $15,000 per building approximately. And our public works manager has estimated that it would be about $15,000 per year every structure. That's $45,000 in overhead cost, which does not go towards Generally. Next slide. Okay, proposed next steps beyond the resolution. We do have a microfit program on the roof. I don't think we have a good understanding as a township what the return on investment of that is. We do know, and I do agree with the public works manager, that it was a no-brainer to do that refurbished cost, which was already approved. Based on the low cost of such equipment at this point in time versus the very high rates of the microfit program returns. And it did so because at the time that that microfit program was put in place, that equipment used to profit. So replacing that with cheaper equipment returns a break-even point within a couple of years. But this equipment will last approximately 25 years. The equipment you had did not, but that was earlier technology. The equipment now is usually old. So you could do a return on investment analysis such as this one to see what actually would be a return on investment. And also, I think you need to understand beyond 2033, when the microfit program ends, what are you going to do with that equipment? Are you going to convert it to a net metering system? If so, what's the cost of that? Perhaps what you decide to do with that equipment would impact the proposal for this project. Also, there is the opportunity to avoid some of those large overheads as an alternative. You could put, say, a limited 10 kilowatt on the roofs of the buildings. That does not include a $15,000 cost below 10,000 watt. It's just the replacement of the meter, and that's currently $80,000. And number three, the township has fantastic assets for systems like this. You already have them in place. You have many buildings with available roof space that are tied to the grid. So it doesn't necessarily have to happen all at once. It doesn't necessarily have to be only for these two buildings on this site. You could look at maybe a more incremental program where you can have opportunity in the future to add such a project to this building. Okay, and that is the last time. So thank you, Paul. Questions? Thank you, Haley.
First of all, I'd like to thank Paul for the presentation, not only today, but for yesterday. He was a great help yesterday in our public consultation. And by you seeing this presentation today, you can see how valuable memory is in the environmental task force. We learn a lot every month with Paul and other members of our task force. It's I know Terry is now becoming electrical engineer with that. This presentation, you know, it is very technical, can be very technical. I think Paul has tried to make it so that everyone can understand. But I'm very interested in hearing what the other councils have to say.
Councilor Farmer. Councilor Farmer, you might be on mute. You have your hand up.
I'd just like to make a comment about the cost of energy. I've seen studies that indicate that renewable energy, wind and solar, are far more expensive than conventional methods due to the fact that they are unreliable and totally dependent on wind and sunlight for peak performance. I see this as a he said, she said scenario.
Right. So the data that I put on one of the early slides showing how much renewable energy is going into global grids is, as I said, from the International Renewable Energy Association. There are countries around the world that are auditing this data, and this data is considered high quality data. It is an emotional subject, and you can go anywhere on the internet and find arguments in both on both sides. What we've tried to do on the task force is try to take the most reviewed and authorized data that we can find.
Councillor Fowler.
It's the 18 cents kilowatt hour that they get paid for this project. That's a little bit more than what I pay for electricity, the kilowatt hour is now. And I've always had an issue with that because where does that extra money come from? Is this a grant the government is giving or something else? Because that grant is back in the money.
Right. Okay, so we actually would never get paid any. What it does is it credits your usage. So if you use X amount of kilowatt hours, say you use 10,000 kilowatt hours, but our panels have generated in a month 8,000 kilowatt hours. That 8,000 gets subtracted from 10,000 to say we only pay for 2,000. If we use 10,000 and it's a summer month with a lot of sun, it may generate 12,000, which is 2,000 more than we do. At that point, we get issued a credit. We don't get issued money, but we get issued a credit, which can be used for future months. The 18 cents, and I'm with you because I pay less than that too in my house, but this is a commercial building with commercial. Hydro One does have a more substantial connection to these buildings than they do for residents. So the fees are higher for commercial use. Now, where would that 18 came from? It was actually 24. So if you take, and I do have a copy of a monthly bill for the township for these buildings, you take the amount that you pay and you divide it by the amount of energy that you use, it comes out to 24 cents per kilowatt hour. I only used 18 cents because some of that cost was for fixed costs, for delivery charges. And those type of things are fixed delivery charges. Those type of things don't get credited. So we would pay for that regardless of how much power we generate. And that's why I used it.
You can talk about the intermittency of solar energy and wind energy and so on, but the fact is, over a year, it's very consistent. That we know how much energy is produced. Heard that with the two presentations. The basic question is, if we spend something like $225,000, we can put it in this system to give us our own somewhere between 20 and 30. That seems like another great thing. People who are distrustful or don't understand how this works at all, can understand where that is risk. I really don't believe it. Even installed so many locations. But right now, the benefit. That is 22,000 a year.
Yeah, as John just said, I do have a system on my house net metering as well. For actually 10 years. And anyway, just get the point here is that you said that if you can generate too much, it was of no value. Well, it is of value because it's going back into the grid itself, the grid system. Basically, it's the value is not wasted. It's going back in. So that's just a point of interest on it. And that's right. That's good.
Yeah, that's very true. There are environmental benefits.
Councillor Herman.
Sorry about that. I forgot to take my raised hand off.
Have any more comments on this?
Well, just as far as the cost of energy increases, I think a lot of that is fundamentally caused by the incentives that these renewable energy companies are affording out to proponents or to the customers that are accepting these projects.
Councilor Herbert is correct on that because I have a friend that has, panels and when he first put them up, he was getting 87, I think it was cents a kilowatt hour. So, and that's the rest of us that's paying for that between, I think at the time it was like 8 or 10 cents a kilowatt hour. That Hydro One, the government was paying him for that. He made a killing.
Yes. And just one comment, that's why I broke up that 20-year increase between 2005 and 2015. It was 7.1% per year because of that, right? That was back in the Delta Museum Free Capital Union liberal era. Since then, those programs are no longer being added, and that's why I went down to 3.8%. But for this project, this does not cost the province because the province is not paying into into the township. They're just offsetting the usage, saying that you supplied your own capital, you're generating your own electricity, but they're not paying this. And so it does not increase the cost of electricity directly as the multiplier for them.
Here's so, previous life. I put $100 million worth of microgrid stuff in, pushing out the load plus well. What we have on the roof would cost about 110,000 back then and generate 10 kilowatts. As opposed to what this will generate for 295, including all the engineering. But I'm a little distrustful of some of the figures. Maybe I shouldn't be because I know this stuff works. We have another issue with on the agenda tonight with our EV chargers. We saw last meeting that after 11 years or just under being breaking even in the system we've got. So, I still think it's a good project. My suggestion is to the council is that we move forward tonight with the idea of doing the engineering to see whether or not these two facilities can handle this. And we redesign if it's successful, or if it's capable without major engineering with contract involvement. We can redesign and resize system this week to go around the 50 system because we have another 9 years to pay out of that one, so we get money out of that. That's good for both. So they're out X number of dollars for the engineering. Even if we don't do it, we don't get away from the know what the quality of the buildings they have really is. So it's a condition and that's the end of the life. We should be doing it maybe anyway. Give us a new age. So that's what I think we should do.
I know there's a question for Darwin. How long would it take for that assessment to be done, Darwin? Through you, Mr. Mayor. Probably. Would it be ready for budget? Could we get it ready for budget? Because and this is a lot of money. And there's one other thing I'd like, and Paul, I trust your numbers and everything. I would like our treasurer to take a look at this and just. If she's done already, I'm not sure, but I think it's important that we double check all the numbers.
Most of that money sitting in the reserve fund for this. But we're also gaining interest on that particular file. So that's a loss to us, which we have to make up. So if you're looking at $200,000, 4%, that's $8,000 a year, paid back in 10, that's probably another about $40,000 extra, which is added to the base fund. I mean, it still will generate dollars, whether it's 10 years or 5 or 13, it's still going to be there. And
So, Mr. Mayor, I agree with, I think we should do the assessment and review this again at budget time. It's a lot of money, $225,000, right? And I just want to make sure everything is correct and then we can look at that budget, which is only a couple of months old.
I'm also a little concerned about that. Or if it's do it. Make sure that we have
Even if it's approved the budget, it won't happen. Don't hurry. I think it's a great idea to do the assessment. But make the decision and do it.
So we have to remember that motion. Counselor Hermer?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to leave the meeting. My daughter has arranged reservations for my 80th birthday celebration, so
Happy
I have to get
birthday.
out of here shortly.
You didn't send us flowers. I used to work,
Neither did you.
had the birthday supply stuff for everybody else.
Well, she made these arrangements, so I have to get out of here.
Thanks, Vern.
Okay, take care.
Have to rewrite the resolution.
Yes, that was for both. That's the. Fire hall and the municipal office. Sorry? It was 15,000. So it's kind of the wording, go to the existing resolution with sole source approving of that $15,000 payment. 60 days maybe sounds less than 2 months. So I just wanted to,
September's got 30 days.
I wanted to explain, they have to do their site visit. They have to analyze the existing roof configuration. And then assuming there's some retrofitting or improvements, then they have to detail that to cost it. So I think that's a reasonable estimated time.
The other thing, when the microfit program was out, Hydro one was dead set against any kind of net meter. Net metered, you either on your own or you're on the grid. No one can. This is the one. Wait.
Be resolved that council receives for information the presentation from all us on behalf of the EPF regarding net metering and bank of first time from today. And the council instructs the public works manager to have the assessment of the roofs completed at an estimated cost of $15,000 using a full source of finance for engineering services of Eastern Engineering, and that the treasury review the financial impact.
Kelly?
You can include in the resolution, that 15,000, I guess will come from the infrastructure sustainability reserve fund.
Moved by Councilor Hutto, second by Deputy Mayor Ingles. Be it resolved that council receives for information the presentation from Paul Aspen on behalf of the EPF regarding net metering and banks and first time spent today. May council instruct the public works manager to have the assessment of the roofs completed at an estimated cost of $15,000 using the sole source of finance for engineering services with Eastern Engineering, and that these funds companies infrastructure sustainability fund, and that the treasury review the financial information.
Final comments, councilors? In favor of the resolution? Opposed? The resolution is carried. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate your time.
Sorry if I can just interrupt, if I can just ask everyone just to remember to speak close to your microphone. They are having a hard time hearing.
We have no delegations, so 8, adoption of the minutes.
Moved by Councilor Fowler, second by Councilor Udall, be resolved that council adopts the minutes as circulated of the following. A public meeting held August 7th, a regular meeting held August 7th, and a special meeting held August 12th, 2025.
Are there any comments? In favor of the resolution? Resolution is carried. Item 9, business arising out of the minutes. Official plan update on file OP number 02/22 and the zoning bylaw amendment file numbered Z08/22.
Moved by Councilor Udall, second by Councilor Fowler, whereas at the meeting held August 12th, 2025, council passed resolution 25, receiving association and planning report prepared by Jenny Katuska Community Center regarding the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment to the office on the Queen's Cottage. Now therefore be resolved, this council receives for information an email dated August 21st from the Palmerston Lake Association providing the results of the petition regarding the proposal, and that council receives for information an email dated August 21st from the Florida Planning Manager advising the applicant has requested a decision on the application to be deferred to allow them time to give comments received at the circle meeting, and that the clerk can provide an update to the board with this meeting.
Comment. Mr. Little.
Well, my first question is, do we have to defer it? And if we defer it, how long, are we going to do more public consultation? Is it going to give the Palmerston Lake Association time to review their comments again? It's just going to drag on even more.
So the applicant has the right to amend their application or request a deferral on their application. There's no legislated reason for council to accept that request for deferral. However, it's a general practice and very common for the authority to grant that time for the applicant. And it was really not what's favorable to the tribunal, which is appeal this council. That it's a focus, a decision when a request for deferral has been asked for. And then with respect to if there were amendments, I think it depends on the extent of those amendments, what the process would be for public consultation. So until we know if there are going to be any needs and what they look like, you don't really know what looks like. The fact that could change if there will be further.
This deferral will be few months, like next council.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially? Like, can we say you want to see this at a certain date? Or is that not what
I just
fly well?
we would not recommend that.
Anyone else? Councilor Reed, you have any comments?
I do. I agree with Councilor Hootle. I'm not really sure why we keep deferring this.
Okay. Counselor, you did hear the clerk's explanation though, right?
I did. Yep.
You have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not happy with the deferral, but I understand the clerk's position that if it does go to a tribunal, that we have to make sure that we come across our T's and dot our I's. So I will vote for this, not favor it. I will vote for it. It's up to you.
Okay. In favor of this resolution? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Item 9B, draft procedural policy.
Moved by Councilor Fowler, second by Councilor Gill, whereas at the meeting held August 7th, council passed resolution 24525, receiving for information an email from the Florida Planning Manager regarding the draft procedural policy provided for review at the July 10th, 2025 regular council meeting. And council instructed the clerk to include a provision limiting electronic participation by council members in closed sessions of council and committees and prohibiting the use of electronic recording and communication devices during closed session. Now therefore be resolved, the council receives for information the sections of the procedural policy with the required amendment, with the requested amendment, and the council receives the amendments regarding budget meetings and process, and the council will consider a bylaw to adopt the procedural policy later in the meeting.
Comments? Seeing none, in favor of the resolution as read? Carried. Okay,
I was just wondering if we could have a little break.
okay, we'll take a break till 25 to 7. Okay, so just under 10 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. First item on the agenda is item 9C, monthly usage report, electrical vehicle chargers.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Fowler. Be it whereas at the meeting held April 25th, 2025, council instructed the manager of community development to provide monthly usage reports of the EV chargers. Now therefore be resolved, the council receives for information the EV usage report for July 2025.
Any comments? Councilor Fowler?
Yeah, I was looking at the grand total there, and it was like $700. And are we paying out more than that, or?
Councilor Fowler, there's an item on the agenda, 1 or 2 down, that just addresses that very thing.
Okay. I'll wait for that.
That's what you were gonna say? Okay. So any other comments on this? Thank you, Brooke, for putting it together. I'm sorry, I apologize, Deputy Mayor.
This is going up in number of users. I think this is 67 users in July. So it's going to tail off, I guess, in the winter, but there are more and more people from outside the community, I'm sure, who are using.
Okay, so in favor of this resolution? Carried. Just a reminder to all councilors, make sure you bring your mic close to you. Some people who are attending virtually are having difficulty hearing some of you, some of us. Okay, so that was carried. Item 10A, communications A.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information section A items of the clerk's administrative report entitled Communications of Interest.
Comments? In favor? Carried. Communications B, with action items. So B1, a request for winter maintenance on Ragged Chutes Road.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved that council receives for information an email dated August 4th, 2025 from Murray and Beverly Elliott residents requesting that winter maintenance be extended from 1280 Ragged Chutes Road to their 911 number, as they have been clearing this section approximately 0.8 kilometers since 2010, and that the township's level of service policy bylaw 8913 as amended sets out the length of maintenance on Ragged Chutes Road to be 1.3 kilometers. And the council instructs the public works manager to provide a recommendation regarding this request at an upcoming meeting.
Any comments? I looked at the North Frontenac map and I can tell that full road all the way into that residence is bright red, which means Township Road. So that's all I have to say about it. Mr. Wood?
Sorry. No, I was just gonna ask Karen for. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, through you, we've looked at that before, but they mentioned they've been doing clearing and work on the road, so I think it's worthwhile to assess condition of that unmaintained section at this point again.
Good.
We've had lots of requests similar to this come in over the years. Some councilors have passed, others have turned down. There's been lots of them. There's still, if we start to put up on more of these, there's going to be a lot more requests coming in. And the way I see it, and I've said it before, is people have bought their places wherever they bought them. And with the expectation of that they had to pay for that, there's lots of and I can tell you, show you one that's a fairly extensive one, that we own the road. We're not plowing it, and we've had that request come in, and that'll come back again, if we start taking on more of these. And we can only afford to do so much.
Mr. Fowler?
Yeah, I think that property was inherited by them, but, there's another property that.
Councilor Fowler, can we keep it to
Yeah,
this?
sorry, there's another property that goes, that road connects to, beside the Elliott's property. There's another property there owned by somebody else that is actually the access to Ragged Chutes. So there's more than one person on that road.
Well, we're just asking public works to take a look at it. You admit report that, it's suitable for file turnaround and all the other good stuff. And you point as well.
Well, to my point is we need to spend the time and money on that to do that, have this going forward. Are we gonna do that with everyone that comes in? It's costing the taxpayers, other taxpayers, a lot of money for this.
Don't we usually do, there's another one that's. That.
It's up to us to whether we do that, if we authorize that or not. I don't think they should be. Like I said, there was a big one come in, likely 3-4 years ago now. And it was a very long section, people wanted us to follow it. And they even brought in a road superintendent from the previous era, saying that we had done that at one time, but we still try it now.
That's good. Anybody else feel like Councilor Good does? Different here.
Well, you're saying that there are a number of township owned roads that are not plowed now. I was not aware of. I thought we more or less had an obligation to service township roads. So, thousands of them out there. It's going to release a flood application, or is that what you said?
That's correct, that's what I'm suggesting. I don't want to name the other names that have the vote right now, but if everyone wants to or not, but I think it was a previous road that was here. Or
Well, we had that issue up in our field a year or so ago, but we actually went and looked at it. Like, you know, we do this. And that's something all we're looking for. So that's what I'm how reasonable is the request? Erwin?
I don't have a number for a number of roads, but we have township owned roads without any maintenance. And we have township owned roads with summer maintenance and no winter maintenance for them full maintenance. So we certainly have roads in all those categories.
Some of those roads lead to residences that are not seasonal, they're year round.
Summer, yeah, that's right.
Yes. Okay. Let's, in favor of this resolution, those read. Opposed? All right, this is carried. Aerial phosphate spraying, item B2 for 10B2.
Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Hudel, be resolved that the province of Ontario through the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry is planning to begin aerial spraying of glyphosate-based herbicides in Maslin area, and that new scientific evidence published since Health Canada's last assessment of glyphosate in 2017 has linked glyphosate-based end-use products to cancer, metabolic and neurological diseases, reproductive toxicity, and ecosystem harm, and that the province of Quebec banned the use of glyphosate for forestry purposes in 2001 and replaced aerial herbicide spraying with manual forest thinning as a safer alternative forest management method. And the council supports the resolution from the municipality of West Nipissing and the township of Moonbeam, requesting that the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry reconsider the planned use of glyphosate-based herbicides and suspending the aerial spraying initiative until further independent research and updated risk assessments are completed and reviewed. And that this resolution be provided to the Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, John Jordan, MPP, and Barbara Young, residents.
Comments? Council Fowler, then Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, this sort of reminds me back when the US Army was spraying Vietnam with Agent Orange, and there was a lot of horrific effects. I knew some of those people over there. And to me, when the government takes it on themselves to go and spray herbicide, it can affect everybody in the long run. I just makes me nervous that this is being done, and it even makes me more nervous that it's being accepted by other industries.
Deputy Mayor.
I'm in favor of supporting the West Nipissing objection to this. I sit on a group called the Local Citizens Committee, which advises the Mazenal Atlantic Forest Stewards, they're called sustainable forest license. They rent part of our Berry Hall. I asked somebody at that corporation, which has the authority to log all the crown land and Mazenal Atlantic Forest, do you know anything about aerial spraying? Because I'd never heard of it. I'm not sure this is correct, that the MNR is planning to spray in the Mazenal Atlantic Forest. What I understand is they're spraying in the Ottawa Valley Forest, which is to the east, to the north of us. So I have a question in with the Sustainable Forest License Corporation. They're supposed to get back to me, but in the meantime, I would be in favor of supporting the West Nipissing thing. Aerial spraying is never talked about in the forest management plan that I heard of.
Councilor.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question too, like. Said they were planning on spraying this area, but I haven't heard of them. The other thing is, like, wouldn't they have to do a public consultation or something? Cause I know when Hydro sprays the roads for underneath the lines. They've done public consultations on our road, anyway on North Shore, so. We should be made aware of this before they start this.
I've never heard of this. This is the first. And this resident lives in the northeast corner of the peninsula. Okay, no further comments? Councilor Regent, you had your hand up or no?
No, thank you for checking though.
Well, tonight, I just want to amend this to be where they are planning on spraying it. What did you say the Colorado?
We don't know.
Oh.
That doesn't matter where, it's the fact that we are. We'll be on the why we're doing it, it seems like it's a regular fact. In favor of supporting this resolution? Anyone opposed? Carried. Item 11A, Shore Road Allowance Closure and Bylaw, Dean.
Moved by Councillor Hiddle, seconded by Councillor Fowler. Be resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Shore Road Allowance Closure and Sale by Bylaw D. And that as required by Bylaw 2025-04, the following be declared as surplus until to be joined member. All that part of the Shore Road Allowance abutting Marble Lake, lying in front of Lot 25, Concession 8, Geographic Township of Berry, being Part 1 on Registered Plan 13R233. And that an appraisal of the property is not necessary as to show that allowance. The council will consider a bylaw later in the meeting to stop, oppose, and sell this portion of the shore.
Comments? In favor? Carried. Yes, in front of Lot 25. This is not yours. Next item is yours. That item is carried. Item 11B, Shore Road Allowance application for approval in principle, McKittrick and Radore /Coaching for vote.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hudel, be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Shore Road Allowance Application for Approval in Principle, Matric and Munising. And that council approves in principle the application to close Stockholm South, part of the Shore Road Allowance is described below. Part of the Shore Road Allowance lying in front of part of lot 27, concession 8, geographic township of Berry on Marble Lake, and part of the Shore Road Allowance lying in front of lot 4, plan 1535, geographic township of the end of the Big Wolf Lake.
We get the right lot? Any comments? In favor? Carried. Okay, item C, Director of Emergency Services, Fire Chief, Emergency Response Plan, Annual Compliance Report.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, seconded by Counselor Fowler, be it resolved that council receives for information the Director of Emergency Services Fire Chief's Administrative Report entitled Emergency Response Plans Annual Compliance Report 2024.
Questions or comments? In favor of the resolution? That resolution is carried. Item D, electrical vehicle charging stations update.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hudel, be it resolved the council receives for information the manager of community development's administrative report entitled Electric Vehicle Charging Station Update.
Second motion. Okay, I'm sorry, I read this as this being all one motion, one resolution. You have to mention this case, really? You can, if you're in the land acquisition. Well, no, this is the resolution. It's not about making.
Which is the whereas that Tara's speaking about.
Okay, so I read this a couple times and I didn't pick that up. So I read this whole thing as we have a problem with the cost that we're paying for distribution. We have to pay entire hydro, that we're paying a commercial rate, and peak rates are involved and everything else. We expected X, we're getting X plus a lot. And that we talked to Hydro One and they're proposing to lower it down. This is just a letter of support supporting. That's what I read there.
Agreed, Mr. Mayor. So I just broke it up into resolutions so that the support resolution didn't have to include my report. So that the support resolution was just about supporting going to the Ontario Energy Board. And so you'd receive the report, which has all the details, and then a second motion, so it's a little cleaner when we send out the letter of support. So it was broke up in two resolutions, but it is all under the same. So just one to receive the report, have discussion, and one to send off requesting support from the Ontario Energy Board.
This was here before. Okay, so do you want to read that first part again and we can do that?
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hudel, be it resolved the council receives for information the manager of community development's administrative report entitled Electric Vehicle Charging Station Update.
Any questions on the report itself? In favor of receiving that report? Carry. Okay. The second one is going to the Ontario Energy Board. And that's all this other stuff. Sure.
That's the sure asked the question and before with the resolution, but I asked the question. So why didn't we know about this before?
Go ahead, Brooke.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So everybody's asking the same questions. So we've had conversations quite detailed with Hydro One, and everybody else's jaw has dropped just as ours has. Unfortunately, this isn't full-size information. We've since tried to research to find where we could have found this out, and it's just not information that we've been able to find. So it was very hidden fact that we were not aware of.
So is this delivery charge different than delivery charge for them? It is. More.
Yeah,
For you.
so in the report for you, Mr. Mayor, so it's under their general service demand, which is classified for different rate for anything over 50 kilowatts. So because we have the potential to draw in a lot more kilowatts, they've got us under this new plan. Not new plan, sorry, but it's a commercial plan that's not specific to EV chargers. I would like to add that we did receive an email today that the Ontario Energy rebate has came into effect effective July 18th, which is what we were referring to that they were looking into. It is 13.1% reduction on the hydro bill before HST. So it's still, I did a quick numbers on our July bill, that would be about $400 off the $3,000 bill. So it's very modest. It is something, but I still feel and recommend we need them to investigate this further. It's not sustainable.
So when I read, this is so ridiculous. I agree. I don't get it at all. Here we're trying to promote green energy and electric vehicles, and it's just,
And
it's
this is every EV charger in Ontario.
like is somebody messed up in Parliament or?
Well, you're dealing with federal.
Well, yeah, okay, but they can.
I know, something, and that's what we're asking here. And so I didn't mean to insult previous employees, so. Go ahead, Mike.
That's no problem. No insult to me because I worked there and I know what it's all about. But what disappoints me is that taxpayers are cutting, paying for these things to be set up down here where I disagreed with them at the start. And with these hidden charges in there, it's going to be paying out. We had that email there. $500 per quarter that is costing taxpayers for the people for the charging of vehicles here. And what I see on here, there's not very much returns on there on the report on the monthly usage of it. So it was $700, which is very small comparison to what it's costing the taxpayers to have these. I'd like to say some words here, but those things in whether it be electric or not, it's just not right that we have to with the other taxpayers of the township.
And I had a chance to listen to a delegation with Hydro One. At the annual conference. I didn't know about this. Okay, Councilor Fowler, then Councilor Little.
Yeah, when I looked at this, at that $700 is the profit we made, and I know that costs a lot of money out there to set that up, and I know we had grant money from that, but it still doesn't add up.
And our cost is about 28,000, but still, we're not, you had a broke even or closest to the start, but we're not going to with this,
Yeah, I know.
not even close. Mr. Goodley.
So, Brooke, are we allowed to charge a service fee? Like on top of what they're paying? Or to try to recoup some of this money until we figure out what Hydro's gonna do?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, we have the ability to set whatever rates we would like for the chargers. The catch-22 is start charging too much from the usage just isn't going to be there. We're never going to, at these rates, we're never going to recoup money. Unless the Ontario Energy Board brings out a proper equitable charging rate for, I mean, it's the Ontario Energy Board that sets these rates at under one charge the customers. So without their support and to do something about this. It's not good.
So I mean, go ahead, what do you mean?
So I read through this, Brooke, and it looks like something's gonna happen in January 26th. Is there some new policy that's being brought in, and what do you see happening?
And so that's what I was referring to, the January 26th. So they actually been given expedited approval for that rate, which is the 13.1%, which on a July bill, that's about $400 off. $700 revenue, it's still costing approximately $2,000 for the month of July.
Yeah, that's a trivial reduction.
It's very, yes.
It's a $22,000 a year economic development charge. And Kelly suggested there $300,000 to replace it, putting away 20,000 in the budget line on an annual basis, based on. Yeah, no, but no one expected this.
I would not be in favor of putting money aside for the future. The situation in 20 years, we won't be here, but the situation in 20 years will be will be totally unpredictable. We don't know.
Okay, so what do we have to do with this? Just accept this or?
Previous motion was to
Accept. That's it. I'm still confused with this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
hold on.
So we've accepted the report. Deputy Mayor?
Is there any point, I mean, this is ridiculous and it's a charge that goes against government policy. Is there any point in either publicizing this on the radio or the press or trying to talk to our provincial and the federal representatives? Is that part of the resolution?
I was looking at the amount of money each individual charge, it's really like, I think the highest I see is around $17. It costs me a lot more to fill gas than that, you know. It just, doesn't seem like a lot, and I'm just wondering if they're getting as much energy as I am in my gas.
There was a pickup truck here last night, 700 one on the brink. That was the Chevrolet or GM. So. Okay, all right, so the next item,
Oh, just a minute now, we're not done with this yet.
okay,
Like, are we gonna continue paying a loss on this for every month for the rest of the life of this thing over here? Like, how long is this gonna keep going on? This is costing taxpayers a lot of money that we shouldn't keep going on with. If anything at all, I'd be happy to take the whole damn thing out of here.
So, well, I think Councilor Good makes a point. We're not gonna spend that type of money, I would think, but I mean, I believe in those charters, so I think, but at the same point, I don't want to spend $2,000 a month either. But I'm just under the grant, are we required now to have them running?
So yes, through the granting agency, we are required to keep these chargers operational for a minimum of 5 years.
can we max the amount that we provide through that charger before we go into the peak rate zone? You say this charge will only produce this much, and at that point, you want more, too bad, so sad.
So through the granting agency, we applied for 100 kilowatt chargers and we have to produce what they're designed to produce. We definitely looked at as well, trying to limit the reduction of the charger or the production of the charger, but it's not possible within this market.
So I'm gonna ask the deputy mayor, he has an electric car, and we see people charging there, and Brooke had made a comment that if we charge too much, people aren't gonna come, but people are using because they have to use it. So maybe, John, like, what is a reasonable amount of increase to get some of this loss back?
I never use fast chargers. I charge at home, but Brooke has done the research and $20 an hour is the going rate.
So with similar chargers around us, it was anywhere between $15 and $25 charging hour, not a lot charged by the kilowatt hour. It's definitely something I think we could look into, maybe increasing it a little bit. We are very rural. There's not many other options. Maybe we can get a little bit more. We're still not, I can never anticipate recouping that amount, but it would help.
Well, just to go to Councilor Good's point, if we have to keep it for 5 years, I think we should try to get as much money out of it as we can, even if it's.
Well, it's kind of like a fuel station in the middle of nowhere, you pay this much for gas, and down the road 15 or 20 kilometers, you're gonna pay this much.
But there isn't one down 15, and the people I talk to charging there are using because they need to get back home.
Well,
Right.
that's the reason we put it in.
Right, so I would be in favor of, you have to figure out how much to increase it. And then we really need to push our MPP and AMO and Roma, and someone bigger than North Frontenac has to push this for us also.
We have a meeting scheduled with the MP and the MPP for later this year. Just have it. Mr. Good?
I think this should be an eye-opener for council. We've spent. I'm being diplomatic about this, but we're overspending what we should be doing in this township on projects that is gonna cost us a lot of money down the road. And there was the last one right here in Pueblo. It's gonna cost us money ongoing to keep it going after it's finished. It's not, this is just got the groundwork started on. But this is gonna keep costing us money down the road, not just us, it's the taxpayers who's paying for it. So we gotta keep an eye on what we're doing here. Don't just jump right into something because you think it looks good. Like this has happened a lot of times before, not a lot of times, a few times before, major projects.
So can we leave that item now? Oh, actually, can we add an amendment? I asked to put them back to it. They have by the October meeting, for that which is found out and recommendation.
How many other municipalities, like North Frontenac, are in the same boat?
Yeah, right now, but I can certainly find it, but there's definitely there's several municipalities, several private dealerships. There's a lot of people who are in the same situation that we're dealing with, so hopefully with the court resolution, we'll get some traction. Much lobbying if we can get to get them to look at these rates.
Yeah, I think Roma would be a good lobby group to contact about this. Well, I think we need to go forward, right? I mean, this is just ridiculous.
The amendment to the resolution to receive the report, and the council requests the manager of community development to look at options to increase fees and report back to council at a future meeting.
Can we change that to increase revenue? And decrease expenses? Or just to decrease expenses? So, way about it. Just increase
Yep.
revenue.
I can add it, I think that.
Yes, and decreases.
And the amendment reads to look at options to increase revenue and decrease expenses and report back.
In favor of the resolution, the amendment? Carried. Item E, community improvement. You go ahead and read it.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Fowler. Whereas the Township of North Frontenac has completed the installation of public electric vehicle chargers, which became operational on March 31st as part of our commitment to promoting sustainable transportation and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And whereas the township received its first electricity bill in July 2025 and was surprised by the unexpectedly high delivery charges applied to the EV charger account. And whereas these delivery chargers were not communicated or anticipated during the planning and budgeting phases of the project. And whereas township staff have engaged in discussions with Hydro One and have been advised that the current rate classifications and associated delivery charges are standard for EV charger account. Whereas high delivery charges may discourage municipalities and private entities from investing in EV infrastructure, thereby undermining provincial and municipal climate goals. Now therefore be resolved that the Council of the Township of North Frontenac respectfully urges the Ontario Energy Board to further review and revise the current rate classifications and delivery charges applied to public EV charging stations to make them affordable to operate. And further that the Township of North Frontenac forward this resolution to the Ontario Energy Board, Hydro One, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Roma, and local members of provincial parliament for their support and action. And further, that a copy of this resolution be shared with other Ontario municipalities, encourage them to advocate for fair and sustainable utility rate with public EV infrastructure.
Any final comments? In favor? Carried. Okay, Community Improvement Plan, item E.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Engel, second by Councillor Hudel. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the Manager of Community Development's administrative report entitled Community Improvement Plan Recommended Amendment. And the council directs the Manager of Community Development to work with the County of Frontenac Planners and Economic Development Task Force on a CIP amendment for council's consideration.
Comments? In favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Item F, a new website platform.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Engel, second by Councillor Hudel. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the treasurer's administrative report, new website platform required. And the council supports the selection of Sandbox Software Solutions as successful proponent for our website. And the council instructs the treasurer to take the one-time fee and the first year of hosting from the electronic software sustainability reserve fund in the amount of $28,500.
Comments? In favor? Carried. Item G, potential vesting of property on 509.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Engel, seconded by Councillor Hudel. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the administrative report prepared by the clerk planning manager and the treasurer entitled Next Steps for Potential Vesting of Property from Failed Tax Sale, and the council chooses the option.
Options, folks, comment? I'm suggesting it's option 2, we keep the property. Instead of potential for using it for housing or some other use. Councilor Fowler?
I agree with that. I don't think all of the property is used for it.
When I read the report, I thought there was a full-blown mining operation back in there, but it seems there was only a few test holes. So, but still, the county talks about an ESA 1, an ESA 2, and a 3. And if we go ahead as the housing site, definitely we're going to incur some charges, but we could then sell that property and recoup that in the value of the property. So terms are good.
Before we take this step on buying this, I think we should be knowing what it's gonna cost us if this goes to the county, know ahead of time. I don't think we should just go and buy it because we can. I don't think there's a big rush to buy it. We've got to get the costs up front, what this is gonna cost us. It may not be feasible for us to buy it.
So I have a question, Kelly. It's roughly $250,000 in arrears on this property. And is that a book entry for us? Or do we have to, we have to put out $250,000 cash from somewhere?
We would have to take it from the reserve just to balance our budget. It would be a write-off. So it is a reduction. We are required to have a balanced budget. So it is money that would come out of the reserves to balance the budget. It's money that we are anticipating to collect. But there isn't any tax for sure.
And last question, do we have to do this now?
So we do have 2 years to make that decision. So that's why I think the option 2, which is sort of the minimal cost, if you're really thinking that you may want to vest it, is to start with the step 1 environmental site assessment. I think it would give probably at least a kind of a quick overall view. Past that, there's all kinds of requirements because right now we don't own the property. And then if there's an appetite to vest it, then probably the best thing is to do that first ESA.
I would hate to pass this up, but it was not unreasonable, it was not reasonable. Councilor Good?
Yeah, I forgot what the price was on this. What'd you say it was for taxes? $250,000? I don't know for sure, but I'm quite sure there's likely lots of property around that we can buy 100 acres for $250,000. And not have to go through all this other permits and testing and everything else. I don't know what this is gonna cost us, but I'm gonna guess that a lot of this other testing isn't gonna be cheap.
At the end of ESA 2 and 3, it won't be cheap.
That's right. So I'm not sure if we really want to go into this or not.
Deputy Mayor?
Whether we, buy this or not, we've got to write off that second. That money is not going, that 250 is not going to come in regardless of what we do.
So option one is that we write off a portion of it and try and sell it. So the benefit of doing that route is that if we do sell it, then we now have a viable property that somebody's paying taxes and contributing based on the assessment. So that is the option one, is that we reduce the cancellation price a little bit to see if, maybe just price was prohibitive. We did have an inquiry during the tax sale process. So that may encourage someone to want to invest again, and then we would have some tax revenue. The option two is if there's an appetite for the council to vest the property, then we recommend doing this first ESA review first.
Councilor
Yes, I remember this property, there was a processing plant there, and I think it processed alcohol or some kind of rock like that. And I don't know if that area is contaminated with alcohol. So that could be a skeleton in the closet. And I think the actual mine that serviced that was like 5 miles in the hill.
It's only 50 acres here.
Yeah. But anyway, I remember it was in operation, it'd been in operation for a month or a couple of weeks, and then it'd be shut down and then open again. But it was sporadic while it operated.
Do we just defer this? Well, the housing task force is just starting. And this is a risky piece of property, and I probably got it. So, I don't know, we don't have to do anything with it. We don't, I guess, like keep it in the inventory and accumulate additional taxes.
Maybe before we talk about buying this or not, we should be perhaps talking about what is council's position generally in acquiring more property? We have an inventory, township owns an inventory of properties right now. Maybe we should talk first about what we have. And what I have. Before we start.
Yeah, once we get involved in this and going through ESA or whatever, and doing all the testing, even with all that said and done, if we're thinking about putting just low rentals on it or whatever, we don't know what's under the ground there and what they've disturbed as far as groundwater water quality goes and all that. There's a lot of things to look at here. So I don't know if we should start spending a lot of money on this or just write off with what we can. Like Kelly said, I don't know if somebody from the public buys it, if they've got to go through all these hurdles or not, or whether they can just buy it and build a house on it.
Sure, we do.
So, if someone bought it and they wanted sensitive use, like a residence, they would have to do the same process. If they bought it and wanted to have an industrial use or something like that.
Mr. Fowler?
Is the property currently still commercial?
It's zoned mining.
There's a lot of minerals.
So this is gonna cost a lot of money regardless which way you go.
We can put it back out again, see what happens. Like, nobody takes it up, and maybe. The way needs to start.
Why was the 40%? But
I just checked with others around, and if they've had a failed tax sale, then they have looked at around a 40% reduction in the cancellation price, just to hopefully make it more attractive for somebody to potentially purchase.
Initially, when we looked at this, I was thinking, if this was a no-brainer, we should buy it. It's basically free. But Kelly has explained that it's not free, that there's a receivable on the books that has to be written off. And that money has to be raised again. Now I'm thinking we should let it go.
Mostly good?
I'm in favor of reducing it by 40% and, writing our loss off on it, because I think it's gonna cost us a lot more money than that in the, down the road.
If we buy it, we spend the money, that could easily be 100. If we have to clean it up, it could be a whole lot more. But I was just thinking of the little corner, you get 10 acres out of it, and, you know, we recuperate our costs out of that, but maybe the risk is too great. And I like your comment, maybe we could buy something else another time. I won't let you forget that. I know you will.
I forgot it already.
I know you did. Counselor Hoodle?
Kelly, just remind me, okay, so if you reduce it by 40% and nobody buys it,
Then we would be back in this situation where we have sort of 2 years to decide what to do. We can looked at it, we haven't developed it yet, but some municipalities will then develop an RFP process. So basically, someone's gonna get it for a low cost, but they have to show what they're gonna actually do with it, and the goal would be to make it viable again and collecting taxes again. So if we have a second fail, and council still is not interested in investing, then I would look in the RFP process and how that would roll out. Again, ultimately, it'd be great if we can be collecting taxes on that property and going forward.
how do we balance the book if we don't want it and nobody buys it?
So that we still have to write it off eventually.
You have to write it up.
Right now, it's what the entries are, it's not, okay. Okay. All right, so do you wanna? I would appreciate someone saying, not option 2, but you choose option 1, which is reduce it by 40%. Pull it back to the market. Counselor
I'll
Flood?
second.
Counselor Hood will second that. Yeah.
The amendment reads, and that council chooses option number 1.
All in favor of this amendment? Carried. Thank you all for your input. Item H, 2026 budget process and dates.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Frankel, seconded by Councillor Hudel. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the administrative report prepared by the treasurer entitled 2026 budget process and date. And the council reduces the time period as set out in subsection 7.3 of O Regulation 5/3022 to pass a resolution making an amendment to the proposed budget in 30 days to 16 days, November 20th, 2025 to December 5th, 2025. And the council reduced the time period as set out in subsection 7.3 of OREG 5/3022 to override the head of council's veto of an amendment to the proposed budget from 15 days to 4 days, December 9th, 2025 to December 12th. And the council approves the 2026 budget schedule as presented.
Comments? Deputy Mayor?
If, Mayor brought a veto to an amendment that's brought by council, council voted, council wanted to vote on right, that requires have a vote.
No, 5.
Fine. 2/3, yeah. What happens if there is four, if there's a amendment? How do we get 5 votes for? You actually have to have.
So if there's one missing, there's 6 votes, 6 people voting? And it was 4-6. That makes it look pretty. You hear it.
So the council override of a mayoral veto will absolutely dependent on Philip Endo.
Or the mayor's proposal is so far out that the number of councilors is really opposed to this. And then you have to a little bit like he or she is. So,
Please don't do that, but there's no guarantee.
thank you. Councilor Doolittle.
So that's where I'm gonna get to, Mr. Mayor. Under the strong mayor's if council want something to happen and you don't, in the old time, we would vote and then we'd vote for it. And put you on the spot here. What are you gonna do?
You think that? So I already know what I want to add. Not very much. So anyway, I think Councilman's done a great job. I just think it's really good place to be. And I already talked to the city about this, and the staff are going to prepare the budget overall. I'll go through it with them, I'll sit down and talk about it. You already have a request for Summerfest, I assume we're going to come in for Winterfest, the PIP program or whatever. So I'll tell you what I'm proposing right now. $1,000 for the Charlotte Lake, food bank if we go through that. $1,000 extra for the school here. $50 more in our expense accounts. The Summerfest, 2,000 more, and CIP program stays at 15,000. So the whole thing is about $3,000 or $4,000 there. And we can argue over that if you want to. I'm not going to go out and follow my sword, and if the council doesn't want it, then I would acquiesce. There's no major issues coming from this mayor.
So you're saying the summer fest, raise it from 15 to 17,000,
10 to 12.
10 to 12.
Yeah, but it depends on what we see from Winterfest, which is right now it's 0, I think. They want to, I don't think. For that, but at the time, like, this can be negotiable. A reasonable mayor would try and make this work.
I'm glad it's negotiable because I'd like to see it stay at 10,000 for the summer fest and
Okay.
the rest of it. And I don't mind you wanting to give the schools that haven't been getting money, like the 1,000 and whatever. But I don't want taxpayers' money then for people that's coming in have, and it's not fraudulent, but that's what I call it. It's money not well spent.
And we can have that discussion. Okay, so. But this is what I propose to happen. And I will allow you to call me on that and make this out. But I keep saying, when you vote for council, when you vote for the mayor, especially in the way it is today, it's down there, college, you need to be so careful. Because the mayor can do can really upset the appetite. And at the end of the day, if it's in the last term, whatever of the mayor, that's probably even more dangerous. Okay, like, I don't really need to know that. I just will say where I am. So, but the new mayor could be an issue. Yes, but you have to get along. Your team, we all have different opinions. We all bring different things to the table. What good is it if I'm fighting all the time? Oh, there's nothing to work on this or any little increase is just something we wouldn't do normally. It's very small because we fight for these budgets. We advocate for them. That we make hard decisions. We all walk away feeling pretty reasonable about it. Even the 2% for the asset management program. We talked about that for a long time. Okay. So basically, it's business as usual with a few little added. So all we're doing is shortening the actual timeline, which is kind of competitive time is a lot. Okay, in favor of the resolution? Carried. Pardon?
Then we'll see how it goes.
Well, we set aside a day and a half. And we've done this now, this will be the fourth time. We pretty well know how each other thinks. And we have always confident with it. Anyway, external committees, environmental task force.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Engel, second by Councilor Hudel, be it resolved that council receives for information the notes dated July 29, 2025, from the meeting of the Environmental Task Force.
Any questions, comments? In favor? Carry. Item 13, does anyone wish to give notice of motion? Seeing none. We have no motions, written notice which has been given previously, council's verbal reports. So, just bear with me now, folks. Okay, so the mayor is mostly county. I attended an EOWC meeting, each of their Wardens Caucus meeting in Ottawa, and that was for preparation for basically the AMO conference. At AMO, started Saturday night and went to Wednesday. That's a long conference, really, really long conference. We had delegations with the Ministry of Infrastructure, Minister of Long-Term Care, the Liberal Caucus, and wanted to go to the Hydro One delegation, but it got changed, so I had to make a decision between infrastructure, which was the asset management program, and Hydro One, which was supposed to be primarily about the orange cell towers, which I found out later. So that was productive, but I kind of think I'm not going to be a big proponent of any more conferences. I did spend a day in the Frontenac County touring paramedic stations and so on. That is really interesting. It has the potential to cost a lot of money. Right now, the county has had a study, and we are adding an ambulance and 4 paramedics every year for the next 8 or 9 years. Each one in $24 is $750,000. So, and the ministry pays half, I could pay half in 1 year. And the city of Kingston pays 20 as well. Along with that though, comes the paramedic service maintains 4 spare ambulances. These ambulances are done. They're about 6 years old with about 250 or 60,000 kilometers showing on the dash. But their engines are probably somewhere around 400,000 to 500,000 because they spend so much time in it. So we keep 4 spares, which are essentially almost all the time. And they require a lot of maintenance. So the service is advocating that they start upgrading those as well. Just buying an ambulance is $250,000. If you buy the paramedics, that's a lot cheaper. But if you buy an ambulance, the delivery time is 2 to 3 years. You get the ambulance, and if you buy it new, it comes with a box on the back of the patient. If you want to reuse the box, because it's about $60,000 to $70,000 cheaper, the new ambulance and the old ambulance have to go to Saskatchewan and certify. There's 2 companies in Canada. One in Quebec that's done lousy work, and the one in the trust on it. Thank you. I apologize. Questionable work. And they're both owned by the same organization. So we send at the county, everything goes through Saskatchewan. And they spend 5 months taking it in, switching the boxes, and then sending them both back. The city of Cornwall said no more reusable boxes in the back, only reuse them once. It's not worth the down. And the county has also got $500 and some thousand to assist with offload issues, hospital in Kingston. So when that ambulance comes in, it will go to the patient, and there's someone there to look after him. Paramedics don't have to stand around for it. That's really essential. End of the essential services fair. We had a, Frontnet Municipal Service Corporation board meeting. The tech committee and Clifford, the operator, did great work in providing us with a series of reasonable technologies we could be using, both for wastewater, waste disposal and for water source, which really good, well done. And I want to go back to Ina for a long-term care manager. It was really interesting. In a long-term care facility, every large municipality has to have a long-term care. Ours is 128 beds. Its first part was built in the early 60s, middle 60s. And there was an addition built about 20 years ago. The addition has 30 some beds in it, but it's not standalone, it's just bedrooms. Right? Or client rooms. There's no kitchen, there's no laundry, there's no garbage disposal, no nothing. And the site where this building is really tight. So to build a new 128 bed facility on the land we already own, you go upwards, I add 32 beds, which is 160, would be about 150. It's mind-boggling, the dollars. We've got time, but they want us to build now. They're making the grants so much more attractive. So we're looking at that. So we asked to talk to the minister about that. We talked about the fact that we want people out of hospital. So if you have a psychiatric issue, the long-term care facilities could be forced to take that particular patient. They are not trained to handle that, and problems are resulting. So they're working on that. They don't know what to do. It's probably going back to something that used to be 30 or 40 years ago, their own facilities. And we also talked about the requirements for board members. You are a volunteer board member. The proposed act passed yet would raise, if something went wrong, no matter what you did, what directions or policy or guidance you provided, something happened in the home, you could be held liable for helping all of our make the change. Well, that's just freaking everybody right out. And the minister said she was aware of that, and we'll see what happens. So I guess there's some good comes out of it. And finally, Wednesday morning, met with the mayor of South Frontenac and the mayor of Central Frontenac, and with our MPP John Jordan and his staff, and Scott Reed from the federal side and his staff. And we had a good 2-hour meeting about what the Frontenacs needed, what we were looking for them for. And one of the commitments we thought is that if we inform, especially the MPP, of the applications that we are making for grants and so on, he will do his best to carry our message. What I didn't know, I thought the ministers, they would go right out of it, or the members of parliament had no say. Sometimes someone will not expect you to be here. The next meeting, I think, is in September or early January, December, early January, and this time the CIOs will be invited. So that's kind of what I have to say. So the next one would be Councilor Good.
The road inspections I've been doing with those are ongoing. I did these, which was there not too long ago. As far as lake associations, Shabamika Lake is having a meeting this coming Sunday at 10 a.m. I'm sure I'm not going to be able to make it, but I know that they have some great concerns about this accessibility, access to the beach, taking out the stones and making it so that they can get down there, because there's been numerous problems over the years. And that will be on their agenda for this weekend coming. So I think we're gonna have to relook at that. I think I've already talked to the mayor about it. We're gonna look at that accessibility to that beach, because it's remote. And there's always been people damaging and everything else going on there. So that'll be on their agenda this weekend.
I'm sure it will be bad on the cameras.
Yes, for sure.
Councilor Regent, you have anything to report?
No, our next family health team meeting will be in September. And Wayne's already mentioned the Shabamika Lake Association meeting.
Okay, Councilor Doodle.
There's no MBCA board meeting in August. The next one is in middle of September. As far as lake associations go, I was invited to 8 or 9 this year and no more are scheduled.
Yeah, Councillor Herman's not here. Councillor Fowler.
It's, the Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance, they didn't have any meetings during the summer. Our next meeting will be September 11th in Tweed. The Lake Association, I've been to a couple of the AGMs, the Canada Lake AGM, I've said that as well. Seniors and law enforcement, our next meeting is September 18th. And there is a bit of a conflict because my new portfolio, the Ontario Police Board, will be meeting on the same date at the same time, and that one will take the priority. We might be able to, I'll get the minutes from the SALT program and maybe pass them on to us if I can. That's all.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
No, Lake Association meetings that I've been to in the last 3 weeks and Ward 2.
Okay, that brings us to item 16, introduction and reading of bylaws.
Moved by Councillor Hood, second by Councillor Hudol, be it resolved that leave be given to the mover to introduce the following bylaws that have been circulated to all members of council. 2025-35 to adopt the procedural policies of council and committees. 2025-39 to close and sell part of a shoreline allowance, and that these bylaws be read a first, second, and third time in timely fashion.
Any final comments? In favor? Carried. Okay, that brings us to item 17, which is the public forum. Does anyone in the chambers wish to make a comment on any of the items that we discussed tonight? Voice of the people. Go ahead, Bob.
So 3 things, I guess. First one would be being sympathetic to Wayne's constant worry about where taxpayer money is going, which I appreciate, by the way. I know all of you are sympathetic to that as well. But so when it comes to the solar panel issue, this is probably in your wheelhouse specifically. Being a commercial contractor once upon a time, we always had a set of as-built drawings that we had to provide to every commercial building. So with that, and in those drawings, it lays out truss layout, truss weights, dead loads, live loads, all of that math. And it also provides a small, sometimes not a very concise little scale of what the roof could potentially hold. Snow load, whatever. So with a quick and dirty, instead of maybe an expensive engineer assessment coming out right away, could that just be looked at? Okay, how much does a panel weigh? Times that by however many panels, and then look at it as, can the roof take it with those as-built drawings?
You're 100% right. If we had a young roof, like it was only 3 years old, but these roofs are getting older, there's deterioration and codes change. So we have to make sure. And if we put up a $200,000 system, it should be okay, but just in case it isn't. And even if we don't do it and just spend the money on the actual study itself, we will have a good idea of the lifespan of that roof.
Oh, fair enough.
That's the reason. Other than that, the design drawings will say it's good for 100 pounds a square foot, wind load, all that stuff will be on there. And if we have the drawings, I think we do. Sometimes people don't. So that's the point we're keeping.
So second thing, not related, the glyphosate spraying, I appreciate the fact that you guys are kind of thinking against that. I appreciate your input on it, like in regards to the Agent Orange thing. We don't know what these things will do to us in the future, but we found out obviously what Agent Orange did to people in the future. I like a good conspiracy theory just the same as the best person, but as the next person. But if you overlap the current forest fires that are burning in our country right now from coast to coast, and you overlap that with the places that currently get sprayed with the glyphosate stuff, it corresponds with all of the places that are burning. I would say 7/8 of the province of Quebec voted against it. They don't have anything sprayed of that specific chemical. And those areas in particular don't have any forest fires. I don't know if there's a conjunction with that or not, but anyway, so that's it. So, and number 3 was, the chargers out there are costing, taxpayers $2,000 a month. Okay. Ish. So, and then we're looking at revamping the website for North Frontenac. I understand that we always need to kind of upgrade things and this and that, but that's $28,000 to upgrade a website. That's 14 months of that out there, and we're worried about paying, until we figure out what's going on. Can we hold off on the website and move that funds to help with that until we figure out what's going on? Just a question.
Kelly, you want to answer that? Because I think I know, but I'd rather have you do it.
I can answer. So the current provider that we're using and their content management system is coming to end of life. So we are sort of back against the wall. They've given us notice, and it's what we have till, I think it's June next year. I'm just proposing that we get going ahead of time so we don't have no website for a period of time. So we are unfortunately back against the wall.
Fair enough. Thanks. I thought I would.
Good points. All of them good. Anyone else wish to make a comment? Is there anyone online?
If there's anyone online that wishes to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature. Seeing none.
Thank you. Okay, we have to enter into are we entering into a closed meeting of council? We have to do the resolution, and then we'll ask you to clear the chambers.
Moved by Counselor Good, seconded by Counselor Hudel. Be it resolved that council retires to closed session at 7:51 PM to adopt closed minutes of a meeting held August 7th, 2025, and to consider advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you, one and all. We'll have a very short meeting at the end of like 5 minutes after we're
So
finished.
anybody that is online,
All
if you can
the
please
time.
remove yourself from the meeting and then you can rejoin after closed session.
Welcome back, everyone. We're now back in our regular meeting. Rise and report from our closed session. During the closed session, council discussed the minutes of a closed session of council dated August 7th, 2025, and discussed advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege and a personal matter about identifiable individuals, and provided direction to staff. Chair on the confirmatory bylaw, please.
Moved by Counselor Good, second by Counselor Kittle, be resolved the bylaw 2025-40 being revised to confirm all actions of the meetings of council for its regular meeting held August 28, 2025. Be read at first, second, and third time and finally passed.
In favor? Carried. Meeting. Have to adjourn that.
Moved by Counselor Good, second by Deputy Mayor Echols, be resolved the council adjourns the meeting at 8:36 p.m. until September 18th, 2025, or as following.
In favor? Carried. Meeting is adjourned.